This is a beautiful winter day here in New York City. We're standing in front of Gramercy Park in a really lovely neighborhood of Manhattan. Now, I'm really excited for what's about to come next, because I'm going to be walking over to Duane Michals' apartment, and we're going to be interviewing the modern father of conceptual photography. This is really a big deal, and you might be able to tell I'm a little bit nervous. It's real fast. I'm going to tell you a quick story about something that really inspired me when I was young. Okay. My father took me to see a movie called The Hunger in like 1983, 84, and I was very young. The opening of The Hunger had this band called Bauhaus doing an opening number while David Bowie, Susan Sarandon, and Catherine Deneuve played out their parts. The opening band really gripped me, and I had to research a little bit more. That band was called Bauhaus. And Bauhaus has an album called In the Flat Field. And on the album cover for In the Flat Field is this really cool black and white photo of a guy like playing a trumpet. And it was a really interesting grainy photo, very conceptual. Later on, I would of course love The Police. And the Police Synchronicity album cover was also shot by Duane Michals. So he did In the Flat Field and Synchronicity. This is a landmark photographer who was one of the first photographers to start drawing and writing on his images, on his photographs. How this applies to depth of field is that it just goes to show you that here's a guy who took unorthodox methods, really pioneered an art form, and it landed him 4 Life covers, numerous Vogue covers, album covers, an amazing history, and a contemporary photographer who has changed our art form. So let's go over and meet Duane Michals, and we're going to share this amazing photographer with all of the B&H and the Depth of Field family. Let's go take a look.
I started out being a boy, then I went to high school, and then I ran away from home, and then I went to the Army, and then I ran away from the Army, and then I came to New York where I stayed. And I made it all up as I went along. I make you up, you know, you don't really exist. You are a figment of my imagination. I'm not a traditional photographer, although I've done everything you'd want to do as a photographer. I really have had a very rich career. I've worked both sides of the tracks, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. I haven't worked in 60 years. That's as good as it gets. I like adventures. I like doing what I've never done before. I always say I shoot first and ask questions later, and I like to surprise myself. I like doing everything. I never like to do the same thing twice. I had fun doing fashion. You know, you get paid a lot of money to make beautiful women look beautiful. Wow, there's a hard job. And I did a book on Egypt for a French publisher. You know, Life magazine, Synchronicity, Carly Simon. I did Houses for House and Gardens. There's a surprise. I mean, really, totally everything. I can't even mention it. I mean, I forget. There's so many. I call myself an expressionist, and what I mean by that is, it's not how well do I express myself. And sometimes you have to write. Sometimes you have to take a picture. Sometimes you have to tell a little story. It's all about the story. I'm not a snap shooter. I mean, I've done annual reports for New York Times 2 or 3 times. And I mean, I've done that kind of stuff. But for my own taste, I'm very verbal. I get paid by the word, right? You're counting. You know, I make it up as I go along. I love the imagination. After the Army, I came to New York, and I wanted to do something in publishing. Photography was not on my horizon. To make a long story short, I was working at Time Inc. doing advertising, and I discovered you could go to Russia, and I borrowed a camera, and I saved up, it was $1,000, and I went. And if I had never gone to Russia, I borrowed Tom Lacey's Argus C3, and I wouldn't take a light meter. And if I had never gone to Russia, I'd never been a photographer. I figured I'm going to Russia, I should take pictures. I got back from Russia, and I sent the films to the guy around the corner, and I bought a $15 enlarger, and my kitchen was like this, so it was, and my prints were like Dead Sea Scrolls. So one night, in my entire history of Duane, insert my name here, I never, I don't have parties. I am a party. And so I had a party. And somebody said, "Can I bring a friend?" I said, "Sure." So they brought this friend. And I guess he was so bored, he was unrolling my Dead Sea Scroll photographs. And he said, "These are good. I have a studio. I never use it on weekends. Big skylight. I'll give you a key." And always being a person who was very quick to grab every opportunity came my way, I said, "Great." And I wouldn't use a light meter because I had my thing. I thought if I had a light meter, it would intimidate me and I'd have to be good. I'd have to be professional. But if I didn't have a light meter, I had the status of being an amateur. When I got the Argus C3 from Tom, now deceased, may he rest in peace, it rhymed. I like to rhyme. So what happened was, he said, when you're outside, you put the thing on 16 and then put the other thing on 500. When you're outside but it's cloudy, leave it on 16, but you put it on 60. Or if it's not too cloudy, put it on 120. When you go inside, go by the window, you go the other way, put the thing on 28, and to put the thing on top on 30, or if it's really dark. That's what I did. So I used that formula. Then with the skylight, and it worked with my friends. So I had this celebrity who will not be mentioned, and it was so dark. It was like one of those middle afternoon storms when you know. But I was still trusty. Well, I screwed up. I was humiliated. And my great friend, Danny Enton, may he rest in peace. I said that already. Don't repeat yourself. And he was, Danny was pissed with me. He said, "Look, you can't be a pretend photographer. If you're going to take pictures, at least, get the right exposure." And he's the one who taught me how to expose film, and he dragged me into the dark room kicking and screaming. And before I knew it, he ran out kicking and screaming, "Get away from me." When I became a photographer, there were things I want. Well, example, I did a early sequence, a series of photographs. It's the decisive moment with the moment before and the moment after. And so I wonder what happens when you die. Now, if you're a traditional photographer, you'll photograph corpses, you'll photograph ladies wearing black dresses crying, you'll photograph cemeteries, hearses. I wasn't interested in, I want to know what happens when you die. And I think this is my Duane suit. This is a 1932 model. You can get spare parts. These are new ears. My ears were too small. And you can get knees, And so I asked myself, what happens when you die? I don't know, but I imagine I leave my Duane suit behind and I go, there's no heaven or hell, but I go downtown. Who knows? And so dreams, we dream all the time. I photographed Magritte asleep. Well, that's what Magritte looks like I'd like to know what kind of dreams does Magritte have. Can you imagine? Most people's dreams are more interesting in their lives. So that whole part of your life, what you can't see, I'm interested in what something feels like more than what it looks like. If I see a woman crying, I think, grief. What does it feel like? So I had to reinvent. I always maintain you're either defined by the medium or you redefine the medium in terms of your needs. Most people are defined by the medium. I'm not Cartier-Bresson. Why should my photographs look like his? Thank God I'm not Ansel Adams. I'm telling you, I don't like Ansel Adams. No, he's okay. He's all right. But so people end up photographing somebody else's photograph. Photograph your own. Can I say? Like when I took the picture of my mother, father, and my brother. And I wrote underneath it, one day he said he was going to write me a letter, true story, but he never wrote the letter. And I used to wonder what was going to be in the letter. And then I thought, well, maybe some family mystery. Maybe we're going to share finally, But the letter never did arrive, and I never found that place where he hid his love. Well, the text, see, I call that a text. Captions always go with, writing always goes with photograph. But you pick up front page of the New York Times. It says Russian tanks enter Ukraine, and they're tanks. On December, I was the news editor of the high school paper. The first paragraph: who, what, why, when, and where. Russian tanks enter Ukraine on February, blah blah blah, and so that caption tells you what you can see. I simply tell you what you can't see. I make up little stories. If you think you figured it out, you haven't figured it out, because you should. First of all, you have to make mistakes. Do not try to be perfect. I started out with the Argus C3, which I borrowed, and that's where I learned about double exposing, because it gratuitously double exposed. And I thought, these are really good. And then I started doing, I love the mistakes of the camera. You learn more from your mistakes than you do from your successes. You can get trapped into success, and then you ad nauseum take the same picture over and over. Really, it's dangerous, especially if you're too young, too soon. And when you start turning your photographs into a product, I mean, like, as if you're a serious photographer, that's not the commercial part. Commercial people are very serious too for different reasons. But if you become famous for one thing, you know, it's too easy to get trapped into that if the thing has no latitude, you know. True style is inherent. You don't go looking for it. You discover it after. It's like when I began to look at things, oh, I could see what I was doing. But while I was doing it, I didn't notice it. You see? So if you set out to have, you know what a style would be? If you want to manufacture a style, it's very easy. Just get so close that you're only photographing eyelids, and you're the eyelid photographer. You know, oh, that's Greta Garbo's eyelid. I knew that. No, but I mean, there's a fake style you can come up with too. Photograph everybody way standing over here, you got a style. Everybody's off in the corner. You know, that's it. There's one photograph which is the standard. I call that stand and stare. August Sander, Diane Arbus, that woman I don't like. I'm very verbal. And it's what you do. And you had to do that because they were long exposures that even, you know, hold your hand in place. But this is the geography of my face. I'm not this face. I used to have a better looking one, but I traded in for two old ones. But when everybody wants to look nice, you know, so if I showed you a picture of my mother and father, they were married after they were married 50 years, and they're standing. Oh, I can't take me anywhere. Anyway, so they're standing like this, and they've got their arm around, and they're smiling. They didn't even like each other. They hadn't in 40 years. You know, they could, you know, but the pictures, stand and stare is, it's just, that's description of anatomy. Each person is a different person. So why do you take the same picture? The picture I might have taken of Jeremy Irons should not be the same kind of picture I took of Kim Novak. You know, nobody, you know, it's amazing to me. People expect they go to photograph somebody, and they wait for somebody to do something. Well, the model doesn't know what you want. First of all, he doesn't know what the light looks like. He doesn't know what's going on. Don't expect him to bring anything. Oh, I did a big project. I did a wonderful shooting with Robin Williams. And that was wonderful because he came in, he was very formal, and then he began to, nothing was said. I thought, wow, this is Robin, I'm funnier than he is. And then he's taking things out of his, you know, he had a funny stuff. And then he brought out a funny pair of shoes, and I said, gee, Mr. Williams, can I smell your shoes? And that broke him up, and then we were off to the heaven. This is an aside, but it makes sense. When I started out and I began to I love doing commercials. I am not a photo snob. So I'm at a shooting, and this young woman comes up and she says, are you Duane? I said, yes. She said, what are you doing here? I said, well, I'm making a living. And she said to me, oh, I would never sell out. And I want to say, honey, you have nothing to sell. All those people who want to, please get over it. The commercial world is much more difficult than the artsy-fartsy world. In the artsy-fartsy world, you know, you pee on a bed and you do piss bed work. You know, I mean, you know, you paint your girlfriend's orange or something. You do orange pictures, you know, blah, blah, blah. But you go and you got to do a job for somebody, and you can't mess around. They don't put up with mistakes. It's very hard to be a good commercial photographer, but it's worth the money. Like my cigar. Oh, you want to hear a little funny story? I had to go out to L.A. to meet. We worked, and it was so funny because I had never heard of the police. I had never heard of them, so I drove to A&M, and I heard this music. It sounded very nice. So when I met them, and they were all, hello, 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 and they said, and I said, I think I may. I said, do you have a hit? They said, yes. I said, I heard a very nice song. Did you write a song called "Do You Really Want to Hurt Me"? I'm telling Steen that I like Boy George. I didn't know the difference. I really, it was, but we got along very well. That was perfect, I used to think of myself as being cottage industry. I never had a studio. We would rent a studio if I needed one. And I didn't want to be an organization. I didn't want to have a staff of 7. I didn't want to pay, blah, blah, blah. I always wanted to carry a bag on my... I remember once I went to photograph the president of IBM, and I just had like a little bag, and I had my I bought my film bag. And the art director of a big agency wrote about whatever. And he said how when we went to visit, and there I was like with a plastic bag and my little bag, and he was embarrassed that I looked like I was an amateur. Boy, did I fool him. When I first came to New York, I wanted to be a designer, and Henry Wolf was the great art director at Harper's Bazaar, and he needed an assistant, so I invented a magazine. And this is my portfolio. Do is a Swiss magazine, which is my favorite magazine. They do a whole issue on a single subject. So I invented a magazine called Contact, and the idea was contact with life, contact with theater, contact with literature, you know, contact with painting. So, and I did a whole issue on Russia. I'll show you a couple other covers. This is Contact on Type, and this is Contact issue on Italy. So these were the three. So that was my portfolio. And when I showed that one to Henry Wolff, he said, well, who took the pictures? I said, I did. He said, well, you should be a photographer. And he wouldn't hire me. But then he went to Show Magazine, and he gave me, I think, 7 photographs in the first issue. I went to see Louis Silverstein at the New York Times, showing him. He said, who took the pictures? And he wouldn't hire me. And then he gave me the annual report to do. So, and this is another, it's an art direction magazine. See, 1960, that's when I was trying to get a job. And then I made this portfolio. Can you imagine? Here's what I always told students to do. Get a red box. There's a beautiful Japanese red lacquer box. Put your pictures in a red box and tie the box with like a rope or some kind of... Now, the art director comes in the office. They don't do this anymore. There are 20 portfolios, all black portfolios. I'll bet you any money he's going to pick up that red box. So this was my black box. There used to be an atomic bomb in here, in a black box. But see, watch this. Oh, I'm the art director. I don't want to look at those. Oh, black box. What's in there? Oh, how do I get into this box? What am I supposed to do? Oh. Oh. So this was filled with these boxes. All Russian pictures. That's not Russian, but that's not Russian either. Anyway, forget it. But Russian pictures would come in the red box. What's in the blue box? Oh, maybe nudes. Who knows? Maybe I'll hit it lucky. All right, you all, nudes, but they all got away. So each box would be a different portfolio. And I love the idea. It was so heavy to carry around, but... And then I made a little miniature portfolio like this. And the pictures are all numbered. This was a very famous model. I forgot her name. Not so famous. This is in Russia. This is a waiter in there's a gaggle of priests. This was in Spain. And here's me with my platoon in Germany. French circus, Cirque d'Hiver. Bert Lahr from Esquire years ago. Oh. So this is one of the first pictures I wrote on. When the picture comes down, I'm not there. Oh, you're supposed to, never mind. Okay. And this is, and Things Are Queer. You see this guy? He has this little book. And here's the little book I used. This is David Hawkins. I had the picture. The picture's not in here anymore. Oh, there it is. When I was working in the country, I got very much involved in things Japanese, hokusai. I love it. And I thought, well, why are photographs always squares and rectangles? So why can't we do fan-shaped photographs? So I did. I did a whole book on them. And I wrote on it, but I want to show you this one which I really like. Oh, you see this? It's hard to see, but it's a rainstorm in the country. And then I wrote a little text that said, "Suddenly a summer shower, I am watered like a flower. I don't regret being wet because I blossom for an hour. Boom, boom. Yeah.